I used to work in the gas industry as a geologist. From 2007 to 2009, I was on a contract with a Russian company called North Gas, back when industrial relations with the UK were still fairly cordial. There was lots of potential gas sites in the Siberian region far up north, and I used to go around potential sites with company borehole engineers, usually in groups of 2 to 3. Anyway, I was at one site in northern Siberia with a German engineer in late October of 2008. Took ages to get to and completely devoid of human habitation, but really beautiful taiga. Endless forests on the drive up there.
You drove a van through taiga?
Yeah, I'm not a car nut, but it was some modified Jeep that the engineer guy would just not shut the fuck up about all the way from Noyabrovsk. Anyway, the site we went to survey was fairly typical of what you expect in the industry at these sorts of locations, thin topsoil giving way to permeable siltstone. Excellent locations for surveying. Now to the story. We came to a location where satellite imagery was suggesting that permafrost was retreating. It still fucking snows and ices over, of course, but the key point is that it's not entirely frozen over. You can install stuff during the summer months, get gas production up. It was a pretty boring landscape though, very thin topsoil giving way rapidly to permeable siltstone. Lots of these natural holes all over the place too, permafrost plugs that had melted and left 20 to 30 m deep holes dotted all over the place. We decided to stay a few weeks and do some test surveys. First week was completely fine, got some good locations, things progressing smoothly. By the end of that week though, things were getting a little weird. Every time I would go out with the spectrometer after that first week, I'd occasionally hear some noises from the holes. I was never near them because while you get a lot of gas coming off these things, they're not terribly good for industrial drilling. It was faint, just on the border of hearing. I never knew how to describe those noises until a few years later when someone took me out to a jazz bar and some guy was playing a violin-like instrument that made this drone noise. Disconcerting, makes your hair stand up. My colleague would notice this too. Disconcerting, as in this job, you're not really working together, but apart. So two of us were hearing stuff out there. We were both rational people, at the time for me, at least, so we put it down to cave noises. Laugh, forget it. About 10 days into the survey, it started happening at night. Again, faint, but really ominous. That drone noise. We used to sleep in the back of the van we had brought, but even though those doors we heard it. Again, stop being stupid, it's cave noises, laugh, have a few beers, go to sleep. It got worse from there. The day after, I found some slime stuff around one of the permafrost boreholes. Yeah, you get lichens and mosses around these things, not an issue, but this was like petroleum jelly, that really vicious stuff. I touched it and immediately regretted it, it felt a lot like pork belly fat. It was warm too, which was really disturbing, considering it was -5 Celsius, for you merry fucks. During the day out there, bring round the German engineer to take a look, he looks troubled. For the rest of the day, I was constantly on edge, too. I kept looking back at the borehole too, just to check. I kept saying to myself. Things got worse at night. That drone noise got a lot worse, but it felt, and I know that's a shit way of putting it, like it wasn't from below, but above, on the surface. My German engineer tried to laugh it off, but I could tell he was seriously disturbed by it. Just that low droning noise. Eventually, we get to sleep. God knows how many hours later though, we wake up together because there is definitely something attempting to open the door handle to the passenger seat of the van. And now, that drone is right fucking outside, and it sounds a lot like gurgling. At this point, we both freak the fuck out and scream like a pair of little girls. It stops. We don't sleep for the rest of the night, and it doesn't come back. The next day, as soon as we make it 9 a.m., we cautiously open the doors. The entire back door is covered in this pork fat shit. The place reeks of something rotten too. The passenger door just smeared in that stuff. But the thing that made us immediately go fuck it, we're leaving was the passenger window, which was also smeared in this gunk, had an outline on it. Like something had pressed its skull into the fat stuff and left an outline. It was unmistakable, some elongated human skull, with no eye orbitals. Jelly stuff was all over the area around us too, and of fucking course, lead all the way to that borehole. We got out of there very fast after that, but as we were packing, that drone shit started again from that hole, and it was loud. It was guttural by this point. Whatever the shit was making, it was down there and close to. German guy went pretty nuts after that. Just hopped in, immediately started going, equipment that was still out for methane measurements just left. Didn't stop driving for the next 14 hours. I pretty much ditched my job soon after. I had no desire to be left like that again in the middle of places like that. German guy, never heard from again. He never talked about it to me anyway.
Nice story. Thanks for posting.
Thanks, I suppose. I guess distance from that event makes it sound pretty prosaic. Spooky noises, ow woo woo, slime, oh woo. During that night though, I was convinced I was going to die. You know how you can just know when someone or something like an animal is nice, curious, or is just out to fuck you up? I knew instinctively that whatever wanted in didn't want to crack open a beer and ask us about geology, if you get my drift. Anyway, I spent a long time after I had calmed down about it, which took a few months, in fact, to think of a rational reason for this. Every time though, I kept butting up against the unexplainable. Sure, drone could be cave noises, but the warm slime stuff? The guttural noise? Around 2012 I got a lot into reading about frozen mammoths and the worry about viruses from the taiga, that they were expecting because of climate change. And at that point I went full /x/ and said fuck it, frozen monster.